Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations. Much love and respect to you. I came out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. All right. It's the brother Haya Napash coming at you with another lesson. This lesson is going to be based upon this video that I just saw, and also a book, that's mentioned in this video. And the fact of the matter is that so-called black people came to the Americas far before a lot of the so-called white people, the Edomites, even understood that there was an Americas. Okay, we were doing constant trade with our brothers, the Native Americans, going back way before Christopher Columbus. Okay. And that's because we had knowledge of this side of the earth, even going back to the time of King Solomon. Okay. We had understanding and we had knowledge of the Americas. All right. So I'm going to play this video real quick so you can see. And this is a so-called white person speaking, by the way, an Edomite, or what seems to be an Edomite.
In your public schools, although it will be, the history that the children are learning today is not going to be history that's going to be taught in the next 25 years. It's going to be radically different. We now know for a fact that long before Columbus, there were 4 major migrations of blacks to the Americas, different parts of the Americas.
Well, hold on, let me stop right there, because why is the history going to change? Because Esau is constantly updating his lies. All right. There's one thing about a lie. If you tell a lie, you have to constantly tell another lie to make up for that lie. This is what Esau is about. He's about deception. Okay.
For totally different reasons, totally separated from each other by many centuries, but nonetheless there were these black, you can call them migrations, but they were not in charge. I'll describe, and you can make up your own mind what they were. The most recent of these took place about 400 years before Columbus was even born, and it's all
and he said there was 4 different migrations, right? We know one for sure is the King Solomon migration, where he had those Hamites, right? The Canaanites build those ships and get certain things from the Americas. Damn, I'm not too sure exactly where that scripture is off the top of my head, but it's in. Damn. I think peacocks is mentioned in that. Let me go to the blue letter for a second and see if I could find the word peacocks. Right? They had monkeys as well. Peacocks, gold, silver, ivory. Right. Second. Okay, this got to be it. Apes. Yeah, spoke about apes. 3 years came the navy of Tarshish. Yeah. Let's. So that or Chronicles, 2 Chronicles 9. Let's see what this one says. I'll start at verse 21. It says, "And all kings," this is 1 Kings 10 and 21. It says, "And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold." And we know King Solomon was a so-called black man. Okay. King Solomon said, my skin is I am black and comely, black and beautiful, meaning doesn't mean he was black as in the color black, but he was a very dark-skinned man. Okay, just like our Lord Yahushai. All right, he said he was black and beautiful. And notice Israelites today, so-called black people, they've used that term in what was that, in the 70s? I'm black and I'm proud. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Going back to James Brown. So that's all in the spirit. Okay. It says, I'll read it again. It says, "And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and he liked to stunt. You know, there's even accounts of there was gold weaved in his braided in his hair. Why? Because he's a so-called black man. Black men, that's what we do. That's what Jake does. When Jake has money, Jake stunts. Jake put golden grills in their mouth. Jake will do the most with money. Esau does not. Esau will look like a bum, but he'll be a billionaire. Okay? It says, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. See? None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. See? For the king had at sea a navy, listen to this, of Tarshish, with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. Right? But where were they bringing that from? Right? They were bringing that from the Americas. Okay? It says that's what they used the ships for. Right? And it took them 3 years to go and come back. You understand? Once in 3 years, because they were constantly making those moves. All right? So it took them a year and a half to get there and a year and a half to get back. That's the same exact time that it took the northern kingdom to get to this side of the world. You see, these Edomites, especially these upper echelon Edomites, they know the truth. They have the books, they have the documents, they know who we are. They know we're the Israelites. Okay, they know the history I'm going into. It says, so King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which the Most High had put in his heart. Okay. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, a rate year by year. And King Solomon had the wisdom that there was even another part of the earth, because the Heavenly Father was working directly with him to give him this wisdom. This is how the northern kingdom knew to come to this side of the earth, because we knew about it going back to King Solomon. Okay, because at that time, the northern kingdom was with King Solomon. You understand? Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Right? Let's go to 2nd Ezra, 13th chapter. Because remember, it said 3 years it took them to go and come back. Okay? Okay. So it says, 2nd Ezra 13 and 41, it says, no, I'll start at 40, Salakia. It says, those are the 10 tribes, meaning the northern kingdom, the so-called, today they're called the Latinos and Native American, the indigenous tribes, Seminole Indians, so on and so forth. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. That would be considered the New World, which was the Americas. Okay, this is thousands of years before, Christopher Columbus, or these Christopher Columbus, or these Edomites in general, or the heathen. Most of the heathen, I would say, or if not all the heathen. I don't know which heathen would have known about this side of the earth, but I know King Solomon knew about this side of the earth. So this was thousands of years before Christopher Columbus came over here, right? It says that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land, right? So they went to a land where never mankind dwelt. It says, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then shewed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. So the Lord helped them to get over there, right? Because they had to fulfill prophecy, right? Christopher Columbus had to take them over. The devil, not just Christopher Columbus, because he only came to Hispaniola, but the Edomites in general, they had to take them over, right, to fulfill prophecy. It says, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. So it took them a year and a half to get to this particular place. And the same region is called Ashereth. This is why King Solomon, it took him 3 years, his navy 3 years to go and come back, because it took them a year and a half to get there and a year and a half to come back. Okay, they were getting all these things from the Americas. The Americas was a paradise. Okay, the Americas is a paradise. Okay, even America at one time was a paradise. And there's still very beautiful places in America. All right. So, this is what King Solomon was doing. Okay, and this is one of the voyages that we know about of our people, so-called black people at that time, coming to the Americas, but really those were not our people. Salakia. When it was King Solomon, it was really the Hamites that he was sending over here, although they are so-called black, they are dark-skinned people, whatever, but the point is, it was ordered by King Solomon, which was an Israelite, right? So that's one instance. And then there's another instance that he's about to go into. And also we know about the Vikings and so on and so forth. But anyways, I'm going to let him speak.
Book over there. It's called The Golden Trade of the Moors.
That's the book I was talking
centuries. About. But nonetheless, there were these black, you can call them migrations, but they were not in charge. I'll describe, and you can make up your own mind what they were. The most recent of these took place about 400... They weren't,
he's right, they weren't migrations because they did not stay here and settle here. The only ones that stayed and settled here, which, a lot of them had so-called black features as well, were the indigenous tribes. Okay? Go look at the early images of the indigenous tribes. They're very, very dark skinned. A lot of them look like a lot of so-called Negroes, because a lot of so-called Negroes are actually indigenous peoples. They actually are the Northern Kingdom. Okay? So that's a fact. But they classified them. They changed their classification from Native American. They forced them to change their classification from Native American to black. Okay? Because they wanted to separate the tribes. Right?
Years before Columbus was even born. And it's all outlined in a marvelous book over there. It's called The Golden Trade of the Moors. And it is now known that the West African Kingdom of Mali had huge fleets of merchant vessels, and that these kings, these black kings of West Africa, began sailing across the Atlantic to Mexico as early as 900 AD. Now, why did they do that? They did that for trade, not for conquest or invasion. They did this for trade. Mali was very wealthy in gold. They had lots of minerals. Some of the black kingdoms, they were called the Yoruba or the Benin. They were great workers in bronze. But the trouble with West Africa, and it's still a trouble today, not enough food, famine. Somehow, the black kings of Mali had preserved this tradition of long before, where there was this kingdom across the sea, a totally different one. It was very hard to reach. You needed to have excellent ships and good sailors, and nobody in Europe was doing it at this time. But if you cross that sea, this other kingdom across the Atlantic was very rich in a certain kind of food, which the people over there called maize. We now call corn.
Right, which in French, the word is maïs for corn, is maïs.
And these West African kings launched at least 2 major fleets, trading ventures, that went across the Atlantic 900 AD to about 1600 AD. And they brought over their bronze work, and they taught the Mexican people, the ancient Mexican people, who were then known as the Mayas. The Mayas had built up a great kingdom of their own, but in 900 AD they were in decline. They were really on the outs. Nobody knows exactly why, but their society was in decline. They were losing all of their technology. Then these black fleets came across from West Africa, from Mali, and they presented a lot of gold work, bronze work, and in return, they came back with shiploads of corn, maize. Now, we know for sure that this actually happened because very recently, you'll see in the next issue of our magazine, not this issue, the next issue is coming out in about 2 weeks. This is part of the discoveries are happening so fast and furious, it's hard to keep track.
Right, and this proves that Jake is different from Esau, right? Because the so-called white man Esau will tell you that no matter who has the power, they'll all do the same thing. They'll conquer, they'll steal, they'll destroy, right? But the fact of the matter is that the fact of the matter is that we didn't do that to the Gadites. The Gadites, when we came to the Gadites, our brothers, we traded with them, right? We worked with them, we ate with them, we chilled. Okay, but Esau, he has a very sadistic mind, and we came multiple times, and there was never in our mind, we can make better weaponry. We're gonna go over there and take them over. No, we said, look, we're gonna have trade with them. So you see, the bottom line is Esau is just, as the scriptures say, he has not hated blood. Okay, he loves blood. All right, point blank. Period. All right. Let's continue.
They now have found that
matter of fact, let me get this real quick, man. Let me get this real quick. This is Habakkuk 2 and verse 4. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him." This is speaking about the Edomites. Their soul is not upright, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Okay? Meaning he's always in other people's lands. Okay? Taking, stealing, so on and so forth. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. He can't. That's the thing with Esau. Gad would even offered Esau land. He said, "Yo, these devils, they don't stop here. Just take, like, I'll give you some land. No problem here. Give you some land." And what did they say? They said, "Nah." They said, "Nah, we want it all. Okay, we'll give you some reserves." All right. It said, "But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his." Okay? It says, "Woe to him that increases that which is not his." All right? This is what Esau has done. He's stolen. He's got by ill-gotten gains. He was never a fair tradesman. Okay? He was always trying to deceive. Okay? And say, "Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and a weight that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein." All right. So he's going into the fact that when we came over, the so-called black people, the Israelites, they came over here to meet the other Israelites. There was no robbery, there was no stealing the land. They just came and traded, gave them something of value for the food that they needed, and then they left. That's it. And then they constantly did those trades with them. All right. That's not in Esau's nature. That's not in the so-called white man's nature. But he'll make you think that everyone is like that. No, everyone is not like that. Don't let him tell you that nonsense. Okay?
Which is growing in West
Let me
Africa.
bring this
Now,
back.
we know for sure that this actually happened because, and in return, they came back with shiploads of corn, maize. Now, we know for sure that this actually happened because very recently, you'll see in the next issue of our magazine, not this issue, the next issue is coming out in about 2 weeks. This is part of the discoveries are happening so fast and furious, it's hard to keep track. They now have found that a certain type of maize or corn, which is growing in West Africa, has been growing there for many centuries, is not native to West Africa. It is a type of corn which comes from Mexico, could have only been brought over by these Mali seafarers over 1,000 years ago. So this is a first concrete proof that they beat Columbus by centuries, and were not just on a voyage of exploration. They were going back and forth, bringing corn back. Now, why do we know about that? Well, this trade stopped abruptly 1600 AD. 1600 AD, the Spanish, the Portuguese run a real aggressive colonizing campaign, and they took over Africa, and they destroyed a lot of these kingdoms. And with the destruction of these kingdoms went all the knowledge and all the history of these past trades.
Right. And when did Jake go into slavery? He went into slavery 1619. All right. Right. Which was the 1600s. Okay. They stayed in Africa for a bit, which is the prophecy. They'll be in the wilderness for a bit. But then what? They came to Babylon, the new Babylon, which is America. Okay. That's what happened. And Esau is the one that's responsible for the destruction of those kingdoms. And he's going into it, man. He's going into it. And in that book, which is called, that he mentioned, is a good book. I'm trying to get that book, actually. The, what is it, Kate? The trade of the Moors, the golden trade of the Moors. So, hey, man, there's a lot of history out there that Esau knows this. This is not no new thing. It's not something that Esau has no clue about. He never, we don't know if there was black people that ruled Europe and this and that. And that. He has all the documents. We don't know if King Solomon was black or the Israelites. They have the documents. They've dug up the artifacts. Okay. As a matter of fact, they had pulled out a coin one time of King Hezekiah, and he had braids, cornrows. So come on, man. Esau knows exactly what's going on. He's just a deceiver.
This is a tremendous lesson for us because, we're so proud of our American civilization. We think it'll go on forever. But when a civilization falls, history tells us it takes almost all memory of it with it. Civilization is really very fragile. And that's why these lessons from the past are very, very important. If we want to preserve our civilization, we have to learn what happened to these others that crashed.
Well, the thing is this. Well, it depends, because the thing is with Esau, he worked very hard to erase the history of our civilization. It's not that our civilization just disappeared because the civilization was destroyed, because Babylon was destroyed, so to speak, in a sense of it was taken down. The Persians were taken down. We still have recollection of those kingdoms. But the thing with Babylon, or the thing with these Edomites, is they tried to wipe out our history. That is the difference. Okay, you even see it with Gad and the boarding schools and trying to take away their language. Okay, Esau's a special kind of devil. Let's go to Psalms 83. Let's go back to that. Psalm 83. In verse 2, it says, "For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation." Right? That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Okay? Name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, right? So they're trying to cut us off, trying to cut our history off, cut everything off about us. This was an effort. They made a great effort to do that, right? When we were ruling Europe, we didn't make a great effort to do that. Esau, you could see Esau was a low people. You know, we didn't have to do nothing, right? As in erase their history. So anyways, let's go back to that video. Let's let that finish off.
So we know for sure between 900 and 1600 AD, long before Columbus was even born, as I say, these blacks were trading, these black kingdoms were trading with Mexico.
Now, good morning, good afternoon.
So that was the point on that. I just want to play that video real quick. Very interesting, man. And hey, man, Esau knows. He knows exactly who we are. He knows the true history, and I can't wait for everything to be exposed. With that, I'll give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, much love and respect to you, Akim, out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. Shalom.